Hey there, sleep seekers. Ready to ditch the fluffy ninja fantasies and face some harsh truths? Tonight, we're not talking stealthy superheroes leaping across rooftops. We're diving deep into the grim reality of ninja life in ancient Japan. Forget the Hollywood glamour. Prepare for a world of brutal training, constant fear, and a life expectancy that probably won't see you collecting Social Security. If you're brave enough to face it, settle in, close your eyes, and let's unravel this together. Congratulations. You've just woken up. The first thing that hits you isn't the morning sun, because there isn't any. It's the damp, earthy smell of the earthen floor beneath the thin straw mat that's been your bed for, well, you've lost count of the days. Or maybe it's the weeks. Time blurs in this place. The air hangs heavy, thick with the scent of wood smoke and something vaguely rotten. Your muscles ache. A dull, persistent throb that's become as familiar as your own heartbeat. You peel your eyelids open, each movement a monumental effort. The only light comes from a single, sputtering oil lamp in the corner of the small, windowless room. It casts long, dancing shadows that make the rough-hewn walls seem to breathe. This isn't some romantic ninja hideout. This is a hole in the ground, a cramped, claustrophobic space designed to keep you hidden, to keep you alive. At least, for now. You try to sit up, but a sharp pain lances through your lower back. You wince, biting back a groan. Yesterday's training session was particularly brutal. Something about perfecting the art of silent movement over gravel, which apparently involved being repeatedly slammed into said gravel until you blended in. You can still feel the grit grinding against your skin. Slowly, painfully, you manage to swing your legs over the edge of the mat. Your bare feet land on the cold, unforgiving earth. There is a chill that seeps up from the ground, penetrating your bones despite the thin cotton training clothes you wear. The fabric is rough, stained with sweat and grime, and probably hasn't been washed in. You really don't want to think about it. You glance around the room, taking stock. There's a small wooden chest against one wall containing your meager possessions, a change of clothes, a few throwing stars, a short sword that feels more like a burden than a weapon, and a worn copy of a military treatise you can barely decipher. In the corner, a chipped ceramic bowl sits beside a small water gourd. Breakfast, or what passes for it. The silence is broken by the scrape of a door opening somewhere above you. A sliver of light pierces the darkness. A gruff voice barks down, the words harsh and clipped. "Get up!" Training starts at first light. Don't make me come down there. First light, you squint, trying to gauge the time. It's still pitch black outside. First light, in this context, means whenever your sensei feels like it. You know better than to argue. Disobedience is met with swift and merciless punishment. You reach for the water gourd, taking a small, cautious sip. The water is stale and tastes faintly of earth, but it's enough to wet your parched throat. You need to conserve every drop. Food and water are scarce. You never know when the next supply run will be, or if it will even arrive at all. You stand up, stretching carefully, trying to ease the stiffness in your aching muscles. The pain is a constant reminder of the life you've chosen, or, more accurately, the life that was chosen for you. You didn't exactly have a say in the matter, born into this life, destined for this path. A path paved with hardship, danger, and the ever-present threat of death. You grab your sword, the cold steel a familiar weight in your hand. You take a deep breath, steeling yourself for the day ahead. Another day of relentless training, pushing your body and mind to their breaking point. Another day of living in the shadows, of honing your skills, of preparing for a mission that may never come. But it probably will. You climb the rickety ladder leading out of your underground dwelling. Each rung creaks ominously, threatening to give way beneath your weight. Finally, you emerge into the pre-dawn chill. The air is crisp and carries the scent of pine and damp earth. It's a welcome change from the stale air below, but the relief is fleeting. You find yourself in a small clearing in the woods, surrounded by towering trees that blot out most of the remaining starlight. A figure stands silhouetted against the faint glow of the horizon. It's your sensei. Even in the dim light, you can see the intensity in his eyes, the stern set of his jaw. He's a man carved from granite, weathered and hardened by years of brutal training and countless missions. He doesn't waste words. "You're late," he grunts, his voice like gravel. You bow deeply, keeping your eyes lowered. "My apologies, sensei." He doesn't acknowledge your apology. He simply gestures towards a stack of wooden logs lying near the edge of the clearing. "First, strength. Move those logs. Then, Balance. We'll be on the bamboo again. You nod, suppressing a sigh. Moving the logs is a test of raw physical strength, something you're constantly striving to improve. The bamboo exercise, that's a different kind of torture. It involves walking, running, and performing combat maneuvers on a narrow, swaying bamboo pole suspended high above the ground. One wrong step, and you're looking at a broken bone. Or worse, you approach the logs, bracing yourself. They're heavy, far heavier than they look. You bend your knees, grip the rough bark, and lift. Your muscles scream in protest, but you ignore the pain. You have to. There's no room for weakness here. You start hauling the logs, one by one, across the clearing. The wood digs into your shoulders, chafing your skin. Sweat stings your eyes. You focus on your breathing, trying to find a rhythm, a way to push through the agony. As you work, your mind drifts back to your past. It's a dangerous habit, dwelling on memories. But sometimes, you can't help it. You remember your family, the small farming village where you were born. You remember the day the samurai came, demanding tribute, taking what they wanted. You remember the fear in your parents' eyes, the helplessness you felt as a child. Then, you remember the day the ninja came. They were different. They didn't demand. They offered an alternative, a chance to fight back, to protect the weak. You were young, impressionable, desperate for a way out. You volunteered. You thought you were choosing a life of purpose, of honor. You were wrong. The reality of ninja life is far removed from the romantic ideals you once held. There's no glory, no recognition, no reward. Just endless training, constant danger, and the gnawing fear of failure. You're a tool, a weapon, a shadow in the night. Your life is not your own. You finish moving the logs, your body trembling with exhaustion. You turn to your sensei, awaiting his next command. He nods curtly, his expression unreadable. Now, the bamboo. You walk towards the bamboo grove, your stomach clenching with dread. The bamboo pole sways gently in the breeze, a constant reminder of the precariousness of your existence. You climb onto the pole, your bare feet gripping the smooth, slippery surface. You take a deep breath, focusing on your center of gravity, trying to find your balance. The ground seems a long way down. Your sensei barks instructions, his voice echoing through the trees. Move! Faster! Maintain your stance. You begin to move, slowly at first, then gradually increasing your speed. You walk, run, jump, and perform a series of predetermined movements, each one designed to test your balance, your agility, your control. The wind picks up, making the bamboo pole sway more violently. You struggle to maintain your footing, your muscles burning, your lungs aching. You can feel your focus wavering, your concentration slipping. Suddenly you lose your balance. Your foot slips on the bamboo. You flail your arms, desperately trying to regain control. But it's no use. You're falling. You hit the ground with a sickening thud, the impact knocking the wind out of you. Pain explodes through your body. You lie there for a moment, gasping for air, wondering if you've broken something. Your sensei approaches, his face impassive. He doesn't offer you a hand up. He simply stands over you, his eyes cold and unforgiving. Get up, he says, his voice devoid of emotion. You're not dead yet. You struggle to your feet, wincing in pain. You know he's right. You're not dead, but you're closer to it than you've ever been. The training continues for hours, relentless and unforgiving. You practice stealth, learning to move silently through the forest, to blend in with the shadows. You practice combat, honing your skills with the sword, the throwing stars, and your bare hands. You practice espionage, learning to gather information, to infiltrate enemy territory, to disappear without a trace. As the sun climbs higher in the sky, your exhaustion deepens. Your body is screaming for rest, but there's no respite. You have to keep going. You have to push through the pain. You have to survive. Finally, as dusk approaches, your sensei calls a halt to the training. You collapse to the ground, your body numb, your mind blank. Rest, he says, his voice slightly less harsh than before. Tomorrow, we begin again. You nod, too tired to speak. You know he's right. Tomorrow, you will begin again. Another day of training, another day of pain, another day of living in the shadows. You crawl back to your underground dwelling, your body aching with every movement. You eat a meager meal of rice and dried fish, barely tasting it. You drink some water, trying to rehydrate your parched body. You lie down on your straw mat, pulling the thin blanket over you. You close your eyes, trying to shut out the pain, the fear, the exhaustion, but it's no use. The memories keep coming back. The faces of your family, the faces of your enemies, the faces of the dead. They swirl around in your mind, a constant reminder of the life you've chosen, the life that was chosen for you. You drift off to sleep, but your dreams are troubled. You dream of shadows, of blood, of death. You dream of a life you can never have. You wake up in the middle of the night, shivering with cold. The oil lamp has burned out, plunging the room into darkness. You lie there, listening to the sounds of the forest, the rustling of leaves, the hooting of owls. You feel utterly alone, isolated, and afraid. You wonder if you'll ever escape this life, if you'll ever find peace. You know the answer. You close your eyes again, trying to find sleep, but sleep is elusive, a distant dream. You're trapped in this nightmare, with no escape. This is your life. This is the life of a ninja. A life of hardship, danger, and the ever-present threat of death. Life lived in the shadows, with no hope of redemption. You try to accept it. You try to find some meaning in it. But it's hard. So very hard. You can't help but wonder, was it all worth it? Was sacrificing your life, your freedom, your very soul for this worth it? You don't know. And maybe you never will. All you know is that you have to keep going. You have to survive. You have to endure. Because that's what ninjas do. They endure. They survive. They keep going no matter what. Even when they're broken, they keep going. Even when they're afraid, they keep going. Even when they're lost, they keep going. They keep going until they can't go anymore. You finally drift back to sleep, exhausted but not rested. The night offers little comfort, only a temporary reprieve from the harsh realities of your existence. You know that when the sun rises, the training will begin again. The cycle will continue, and you will be there, ready to face another day of pain, another day of fear, another day of living in the shadows. Because you are a ninja. And that is your fate. The next few years blur into a monotonous cycle of training, short missions, and fleeting moments of quiet desperation. You become intimately acquainted with the taste of dirt, the sting of sweat in your eyes, and the dull ache of perpetually strained muscles. Your body transforms, hardening into a lean, efficient weapon. You move with a silent grace that would have been unimaginable just a few years ago. You can scale walls, disappear into shadows, and kill with a speed and precision that would make most warriors tremble. But the physical transformation is only part of the story. Your mind also undergoes a profound change. You learn to suppress your emotions, to control your fear, to detach yourself from the consequences of your actions. You become a master of deception, able to lie with a straight face, to manipulate people with ease, to betray even your closest allies if necessary. Trust becomes a luxury you can no longer afford. Loyalty is a weakness to be exploited. The only thing that matters is survival. You witness things that would haunt most people for the rest of their lives. You see comrades fall in battle, their bodies broken and bleeding. You see innocent civilians caught in the crossfire, their lives shattered by the violence that surrounds you. You see the dark side of humanity, the cruelty and depravity that lurks beneath the surface of society. And you become a part of it. You participate in assassinations, sabotage operations, and espionage missions. You kill without hesitation, without remorse. You justify your actions by telling yourself that you're doing it for the greater good, that you're protecting your clan, that you're fighting for a just cause. But deep down, you know that's a lie. You're doing it because you have no other choice. You're doing it because you're a ninja. And that's what ninjas do. One day, you're summoned to your sensei's private chambers. The room is small and sparsely furnished, but it's cleaner and more comfortable than your own underground dwelling. Your sensei sits cross-legged on a tatami mat, his face etched with a weariness you've never seen before. "You have progressed far, young one," he says, his voice softer than usual. "Your skills are honed. Your mind is disciplined. You are ready for a true test." A knot of apprehension tightens in your stomach. You know what's coming. A true test. That usually means a suicide mission. There is a powerful lord, your sensei continues, who has become a threat to our clan. He is ambitious, ruthless, and heavily guarded. He must be eliminated. He pauses, studying your face. You have been chosen to carry out this task. You bow your head, accepting your fate. You don't ask questions. You don't express fear. You simply acknowledge the order. "I understand, sensei," you say, your voice steady. Your sensei nods. You will leave tonight. You will be given the necessary information and equipment. Do not fail. You bow again and leave the room, your mind racing. You know this is it. This is the mission that will define you, the mission that will determine your fate. You could succeed, eliminate the Lord, and return a hero. Or you could fail, be captured and tortured, and die a slow, agonizing death. The odds are not in your favor. You spend the rest of the day preparing for the mission. You sharpen your weapons, memorize the layout of the Lord's castle, and study the intelligence reports on his guards and security measures. You try to anticipate every possible scenario, to plan for every contingency. As night falls, you gather your equipment and prepare to leave. You feel a strange sense of calm, a quiet acceptance of whatever lies ahead. You've been training for this your entire life. You're ready. You slip out of the ninja compound, melting into the shadows. The night is dark and moonless, perfect for your purpose. You make your way towards the Lord's castle, moving silently and swiftly through the forest. The castle is a formidable structure, surrounded by high walls, deep moats, and heavily armed guards. But you're not deterred. You've faced worse odds before. You find a weak spot in the castle's defenses, a section of the wall that's poorly guarded. You use your climbing skills to scale the wall, scaling the stone with practiced ease. You drop silently to the ground inside the castle walls, disappearing into the shadows. You move through the castle grounds, avoiding the patrols, sticking to the shadows. You're like a ghost, unseen and unheard. You know the layout of the castle intimately, thanks to the intelligence reports you studied. You know exactly where the Lord's chambers are located. You reach the Lord's chambers, a lavishly decorated suite of rooms on the top floor of the castle. You can hear voices inside, the Lord and his advisors discussing matters of state. You take a deep breath, steeling yourself for the final confrontation. You draw your sword, the cold steel gleaming in the dim light. You're ready to kill. You burst into the Lord's chambers, catching everyone by surprise. The guards react quickly, drawing their swords and rushing towards you. But you're faster. You move with lightning speed, cutting down the guards with swift, precise strikes. You're a whirlwind of death, a force of nature. The guards are no match for your skill and training. The Lord watches in horror as his guards fall around him. He tries to escape, but you're too quick. You grab him, holding your sword to his throat. "Who sent you?" the Lord gasps, his face pale with fear. You don't answer. You simply tighten your grip on the sword. "Please," the Lord begs, "I'll give you anything. Money, power, land." You ignore his pleas. You're not interested in his bribes. You have a mission to complete. With a swift, decisive movement, you slash your sword across the Lord's throat. He gurgles, his eyes widening in shock. He collapses to the ground, dead. The mission is complete. You stand there for a moment, catching your breath, surveying the scene. The Lord and his guards lie dead around you, their blood staining the ornate carpets. You feel nothing. No remorse, no satisfaction, no relief. Just emptiness. You turn and leave the Lord's chambers, disappearing back into the shadows. You make your way out of the castle, scaling the walls once again. You vanish into the night, leaving behind a scene of death and destruction. You return to the ninja compound, reporting your success to your sensei. He nods, his face expressionless. "Well done," he says, his voice flat. "You have served our clan well. That's it. No praise, no reward, no recognition, just a simple acknowledgement of a job well done. You're dismissed, sent back to your underground dwelling." You lie down on your straw mat, exhausted and emotionally drained. You try to sleep, but your mind is racing. You can't stop replaying the events of the night in your head, the faces of the dead, the feel of the sword in your hand. You realize something. You're not the same person you were before the mission. You've crossed a line, a point of no return. You've become a killer, a monster. You wonder if you can ever go back to being normal, if you can ever escape the darkness that has consumed you. You know the answer. You're a ninja, and that's what ninjas are. Killers, monsters, shadows in the night. You close your eyes, trying to shut out the thoughts, the memories, the pain. But it's no use. They're always there, lurking in the darkness, waiting to consume you. You're trapped in this life, trapped in this role, trapped in this nightmare. And there's no escape. Years pass, you become a legend, a whisper in the shadows, a name that strikes fear into the hearts of your enemies. You are the clan's most valuable asset, the one they call upon when a task is too dangerous, too difficult for anyone else. You carry out countless missions, each one more daring and audacious than the last. You eliminate rival lords, sabotage enemy strongholds, and steal vital information. You become a master of disguise, able to blend seamlessly into any environment. You learn to speak multiple languages, to read and write in complex codes, to navigate treacherous political landscapes. But with each success, the darkness within you grows. The emptiness deepens. You become increasingly detached from the world around you, unable to form meaningful connections with anyone. You see people as pawns in a game, tools to be used and discarded. You lose sight of your own humanity, becoming a cold, calculating machine. You start to question your purpose. What are you fighting for? What are you sacrificing your life for? Is it really for the greater good? Or is it just for the power and glory of your clan? The answers elude you. One day, you receive a new mission. It's different from the others. This time, you're not being asked to kill an enemy lord or steal a secret document. You're being asked to assassinate a peasant girl. The girl is said to be a seer, a prophet, someone who can predict the future. The clan believes that her prophecies threaten their power and stability. They want her silenced. You balk at the order. Killing a peasant girl? It seems wrong, even for you. You voice your concerns to your sensei. He listens patiently. His face is impassive as ever. The girl is a threat, he says, his voice firm. Her prophecies could undermine everything we've worked for. She must be eliminated. You argue, trying to convince him that there must be another way. But he's unmoved. This is an order, he says, his voice laced with steel. You will carry it out. Do you understand? You know you have no choice. You're a ninja. You follow orders. Even when those orders go against your own conscience. You set out to find the girl. She lives in a remote village, far from the centers of power. When you arrive, you find her surrounded by a group of villagers, listening intently to her words. She's young, no more than 15 years old. She has a gentle face and kind eyes. She speaks with a quiet authority, her words filled with wisdom and compassion. You listen to her prophecies. She speaks of a time of peace and prosperity, a time when the people will be free from oppression and suffering. She speaks of a world where everyone is treated with respect and dignity. Her words resonate with you. They stir something deep within your soul, something you thought you had lost long ago. Hope. You realize that you can't kill her. You can't silence her message. She represents everything you've been fighting for, everything you've been yearning for. You decide to disobey your orders. You decide to protect the girl. You approach her and tell her that she's in danger. You tell her that the clan wants to kill her. You offer to help her escape. She looks at you with her wise, knowing eyes. She seems to know everything about you, your past, your present, your future. I know who you are, she says, her voice soft. You are a ninja. You were sent here to kill me. You nod. Ashamed. I was, you say. But I can't do it. I won't do it. She smiles. I know, she says. I saw it in your heart. She agrees to let you help her. You lead her away from the village, into the mountains. You find a hidden cave where she can take refuge. You promise to protect her, to keep her safe from the clan. You know it's a dangerous undertaking. You're betraying your clan, risking your life. But you don't care. You finally found something worth fighting for. You spend your days guarding the girl, training her in self-defense, teaching her how to survive in the wilderness. You tell her about your past, about your life as a ninja. You share your doubts, your fears, your hopes. She listens patiently, offering you comfort and understanding. She helps you to heal, to forgive yourself, to find peace. You begin to fall in love with her. Her kindness, her wisdom, her beauty, they captivate you. You see in her a reflection of the person you once were, the person you could be again. But your happiness is short-lived. The clan discovers your betrayal. They send assassins to hunt you down. You fight them off, protecting the girl with your life. But they keep coming, wave after wave. You know it's only a matter of time before they overwhelm you. One night, the clan launches a massive attack on your hideout. They surround the cave, trapping you and the girl inside. You prepare for a final stand. You know you can't win, but you're determined to protect the girl, to give her a chance to escape. You fight with the ferocity of a cornered animal. You kill dozens of assassins, but they keep coming. You're outnumbered, outmatched, and exhausted. Finally, you're overwhelmed. You're knocked to the ground, your body battered and bruised. The assassins close in, their swords raised. You look at the girl, your eyes filled with love and regret. "I'm sorry," you say. "I couldn't protect you." She smiles. "You did," she says. "You gave me hope." The assassins strike. You close your eyes, bracing for the end. But it never comes. Suddenly, a figure appears, a whirlwind of steel and fury. It's your sensei. He fights off the assassins, protecting you and the girl. He moves with a speed and precision you've never seen before. He's like a demon, a force of destruction. The assassins are no match for him. They fall like leaves in the wind. Finally, the last assassin is dead. Your sensei stands over you, his face grim. "Why?" you ask, your voice weak. "Why did you save us?" Your sensei looks at the girl, his eyes softening. "She is right," he says. "You did give her hope." He turns to you, his expression hardening. "You have betrayed your clan," he says. "You have disobeyed my orders. You must be punished." You nod, accepting your fate. "I understand," you say. Your sensei raises his sword. You close your eyes, waiting for the blow. But it never comes. Instead, your sensei lowers his sword. "Leave," he says. "Take the girl and leave. Never return." You're stunned. "What?" you ask. "Why?" Your sensei doesn't answer. He simply turns and walks away, disappearing into the shadows. You look at the girl, bewildered. "What just happened?" you ask. She smiles. "He saw it in your heart," she says. "He saw that you had changed." You help the girl to her feet. You look back at the cave, at the life you're leaving behind. You feel a sense of sadness, but also a sense of hope. You know that you can never be a ninja again, but you also know that you can be something more. You can be a protector, a guardian, a beacon of hope in a world of darkness. You take the girl's hand and walk away, into the unknown. You don't know what the future holds, but you're not afraid. You have each other, and that's all that matters. You disappear into the wilderness, leaving behind the life of a ninja, the life of a killer. You embrace a new life, a life of peace, a life of love, a life of purpose. You never look back. Years later, you live a simple life, farming the land, raising a family. You teach your children about peace, about compassion, about the importance of fighting for what's right. The girl, now a woman, becomes a respected leader in the community, guiding people with her wisdom and her compassion. Her prophecies continue to inspire hope and change in the world. You often think about your past, about the life you left behind. You remember the pain, the suffering, the darkness. But you also remember the lessons you learned, the skills you acquired, the strength you developed. You realize that everything that happened to you, everything you went through, led you to this moment, to this life. And you're grateful. You're no longer a ninja. You're something more. You're a survivor. You're a protector. You're a father. You're a husband. You're a beacon of hope. And that's enough. You close your eyes, feeling the warmth of the sun on your face, the love of your family surrounding you. You're at peace. Finally, you're at peace. But let's rewind a little, shall we? Because that idyllic ending, well, statistically speaking, that wasn't you. That was the fairy tale, the exception that proves the rule. Most likely you didn't get a happily ever after. You didn't find redemption. You just found another mission. Let's say you survived that first impossible assassination. You came back, maybe a little roughed up, but you came back. What then? Did your sensei pat you on the back and give you a week off? Did you get a bonus in rice? Hell no. You got patched up, maybe. If there were any healers around who weren't busy with actual samurai battles, and you got sent right back out, because the war never stops. The power struggles never end. The clan's enemies are always plotting, always scheming, always looking for a weakness. And you, my friend, are their weakness. Or rather, you are the weakness they're going to exploit in their enemies. So you keep going, you keep training, you keep killing, you keep surviving. You become a machine, a weapon honed to perfection. You forget what it's like to feel anything other than fear, anger, and a bone-deep weariness. You see your comrades die, one by one. Some are killed in battle, others are betrayed by their own clan. Some simply disappear, vanishing into the shadows, their fates unknown. You learn not to get attached. Attachment leads to weakness. Weakness leads to death. You carry out missions that would make your stomach churn. You assassinate innocent people, you sabotage vital infrastructure, you spread misinformation and sow discord. You become a master of psychological warfare. able to manipulate people's emotions and turn them against each other. You start to lose yourself in the darkness. You forget who you are, what you stand for. You become nothing more than a tool, a weapon in the hands of your clan. One day, you're assigned to train a new recruit. He's young, barely a teenager, with wide, innocent eyes. He reminds you of yourself, years ago, before the darkness consumed you. You try to harden him, to strip away his innocence, to mold him into a killer. But something inside you resists. You can't bring yourself to do it. You start to teach him the skills he needs to survive, but you also try to instill in him a sense of morality, a sense of compassion. You tell him about the importance of fighting for what's right, of protecting the weak, of standing up to injustice. You know you're taking a risk. You know that your sensei wouldn't approve. But you can't help yourself. You want to save this boy from the fate that befell you. The boy is a quick learner. He excels in his training, mastering the skills of stealth, combat, and espionage. He becomes like a son to you, a source of hope in the darkness. But your actions don't go unnoticed. Your sensei sees what you're doing. He confronts you, his eyes filled with anger and disappointment. You're corrupting him, he says, his voice cold. You're turning him into a weakling. You argue, trying to defend your actions, but your sensei is unmoved. He must be tested, he says. He must prove his loyalty to the clan. You know what that means. He's gonna order the boy to kill someone, to commit an act of unspeakable cruelty. You can't let that happen. You won't let him destroy this boy's soul. You decide to take action. You plan to help the boy escape, to spirit him away to a safe place where he can live a normal life. But your sensei is one step ahead of you. He anticipates your plan. He sets a trap. One night, as you're preparing to leave with the boy, you're ambushed by your fellow ninjas. They're loyal to your sensei, and they're willing to kill you to protect the clan. You fight them off, but you're outnumbered. The boy is terrified, watching as you battle for your lives. You manage to create an opening, a chance for the boy to escape. You push him towards it, urging him to run. Go! You shout. Get out of here. Don't look back. The boy hesitates, his eyes filled with fear and confusion. He doesn't want to leave you. I can't, he cries. I won't leave you. You have to, you shout. It's the only way you'll survive. Finally, he relents. He turns and runs, disappearing into the darkness. You watch him go, a pang of sadness in your heart. You know you'll probably never see him again, but you also feel a sense of relief. You saved him. You gave him a chance to live a better life. You turn back to face your attackers, your heart filled with resolve. You're ready to die. The battle is fierce and brutal. You fight with all your strength, all your skill, all your rage, but you're no match for the numbers. You're eventually overwhelmed. You're knocked to the ground, your body broken and bleeding. The ninjas close in, their swords raised. You close your eyes, accepting your fate. You're ready to die. But before they can strike the final blow, your sensei appears. He orders the ninjas to stand down. They hesitate, but they obey his command. They lower their swords, their faces filled with confusion. Your sensei looks at you, his eyes filled with a mixture of anger and pity. You have failed me, he says, his voice cold. You have betrayed the clan. You don't argue. You know he's right. I did what I thought was right, you say, your voice weak. Your sensei shakes his head. There is no right or wrong, he says. There is only the clan. He raises his sword. You must be punished, he says. You close your eyes, waiting for the end. But the blow never comes. Instead, you feel a sharp pain in your stomach. You gasp, your eyes widening in shock. You look down and see your sensei's sword protruding from your abdomen. He has stabbed you. You collapse to the ground, your lifeblood draining away. You look up at your sensei, a question in your eyes. He looks back at you, his face expressionless. This is the only way, he says. You were becoming a liability. He pulls his sword out of your stomach and lets you fall to the ground. He turns and walks away, leaving you to die. The ninjas follow him, disappearing into the darkness. You're left alone, bleeding and dying in the cold, damp earth. You close your eyes, your mind filled with memories of your life. You remember your family, your friends, your training. You remember the missions you carried out, the people you killed, the lies you told. You realize that you wasted your life. You sacrificed everything for a cause that was ultimately meaningless. You regret your choices. You regret the darkness that consumed you. You regret the person you became. You wish you could have done things differently. You wish you could have been a better person, but it's too late. You're dying. You take a final breath, your body convulsing, your eyes glaze over. You're dead. Your body is left to rot in the woods, a forgotten casualty of a never-ending war. No one will mourn you. No one will remember you. You were just a ninja. That's all you'll ever be. And that, my friend, is the more likely ending to your story. A cold, lonely death, unmourned and unremembered. The life of a ninja, brutal, short, and ultimately pointless. Sweet dreams. But, and it's a big but, there's one more possibility. A fate perhaps even grimmer than a forgotten death in the woods. A fate that twists everything you thought you knew about yourself, about your clan, about the very nature of reality. Imagine this. You survive, not in some blaze of glory, not in some heroic sacrifice, but you simply endure. You become a ghost, a legend whispered only in the darkest corners of the ninja world. Your skills become unparalleled. Your knowledge of infiltration, assassination, and psychological warfare becomes encyclopedic. You are the ultimate weapon. The shadow that strikes without warning, the whisper that drives men mad. But the years take their toll. The constant stress, the lack of sleep, the endless cycle of violence, they erode your mind, your body, your soul. You become a shell of a person, a walking corpse animated only by duty and a primal instinct for survival. Your sensei, impressed by your continued success, begins to confide in you. He reveals secrets about the clan, about its origins, about its true purpose. He tells you things that shatter your perception of reality, things that make you question everything you thought you knew. He reveals that the clan isn't just a group of warriors fighting for honor or power. It's something far older, far more sinister. He tells you that the clan has been manipulating events in Japan for centuries, orchestrating wars, assassinating leaders, and spreading chaos to maintain its own power. He tells you that the clan is not loyal to any lord, any emperor, any nation. It's loyal only to itself, to its own survival, to its own twisted vision of the future. He tells you that the clan's power comes from something unnatural, something ancient and malevolent that dwells in the shadows, feeding on fear and despair. He tells you that the ninja are not just warriors. They are vessels, conduits for this dark power. They are tools of destruction, instruments of chaos. And then he tells you the most horrifying truth of all, that you were never chosen. You were bred, selected generations ago for your lineage, your capacity for violence, your susceptibility to the clan's influence. Your entire life, from the moment you were born, was a carefully orchestrated experiment designed to turn you into the perfect weapon. This knowledge shatters you. It destroys everything you thought you knew about yourself, about your life, about your purpose. You realize that you're not a warrior, not a hero, not even a free agent. You're just a puppet, a pawn in a game you never understood. You try to resist. You try to break free from the clan's control, but it's too late. The darkness has taken root inside you. It has become a part of you. You are trapped. Your sensei, sensing your inner turmoil, begins to groom you as his successor. He wants you to inherit his position, to become the leader of the clan. He wants you to carry on his legacy of deceit, manipulation, and violence. You resist at first. You don't want to become like him. You don't want to perpetuate the cycle of darkness. But he's relentless. He uses every trick in the book to manipulate you, to break you down, to convince you that you have no other choice. He appeals to your sense of duty, your loyalty, your fear. He reminds you that the clan is all you have, that you would be nothing without it. Slowly, gradually, he wears you down. You start to believe him. You start to accept your fate. You become his apprentice, learning the secrets of the clan, the art of manipulation, the ways of the shadows. You become a master of deception, able to control people's minds, to bend them to your will. You become a monster. One day, your sensei tells you that it's time for you to take over. He says that he's old, that he's tired, that he's ready to pass the torch to you. He leads you to a hidden chamber beneath the ninja compound, a place where the clan's darkest secrets are kept. In the center of the chamber, there's a stone altar, bathed in an eerie green light. On the altar, there's a human heart, still beating. Your sensei tells you that this is the heart of the clan's founder, the source of its power. He tells you that to become the leader of the clan, you must consume the heart. You recoil in horror. You can't do it. You won't do it. But your sensei insists. He tells you that it's your destiny, that it's the only way to ensure the clan's survival. He tells you that if you refuse, the clan will fall, and darkness will consume the world. You hesitate, torn between your conscience and your duty. You know that if you consume the heart, you will be forever bound to the darkness. You will lose your soul, but you also know that if you refuse, the clan will fall, and countless lives will be lost. You look at the heart, pulsating with an unholy energy. You feel a pull, a dark, irresistible force drawing you in. You close your eyes, taking a deep breath. You make a decision. You reach out and grab the heart. It's warm and slimy, pulsing with a dark energy. You bring it to your lips and take a bite. The taste is indescribable. It's a mixture of blood, bile, and something ancient. Something alien. You swallow the heart, feeling its dark energy surge through your veins. You feel yourself changing, becoming something else. You open your eyes. They glow with an eerie green light. You are no longer human. You are the leader of the clan. You spend the rest of your life perpetuating the cycle of darkness, manipulating events, spreading chaos, and feeding the ancient evil that dwells in the shadows. You become even more ruthless, even more cunning, even more depraved than your sensei ever was. You sacrifice everything for the clan. Your humanity, your soul, your very being. You become a living embodiment of darkness, a monster in human form. You live a long, prosperous life, feared and respected by all. You die peacefully in your sleep, surrounded by your loyal followers. But even in death, you are not free. Your soul is trapped, bound to the darkness, forever serving the ancient evil that controls the clan. You are a prisoner of your own legacy, a slave to your own ambition. You are doomed to repeat the cycle of darkness, generation after generation. This is your ultimate fate, the grimmest, most horrifying possibility of all. To become the very thing you once fought against, to become the master of the shadows, to become a monster. And the worst part is, you won't even realize it. You'll be too far gone, too consumed by the darkness. You'll believe that you're doing what's best, that you're serving a higher purpose. But in reality, you're just a puppet, a pawn in a game you never understood. And that, my friend, is the true horror of being born a ninja. Not the training, not the missions, not even the death, but the possibility of losing yourself, of becoming something truly evil, without even knowing it. So sleep tight, and pray that you wake up in a world where ninjas are just a myth. Because even in that endless night, even as the puppet master pulls your strings, there's a flicker, a tiny ember of what you once were. And sometimes, just sometimes, that ember can ignite. Let's say you find yourself, decades into your reign as the clan leader, gazing out from the highest tower of your fortress. The wind whips around you, carrying the scent of pine and distant rain. Below, the ninja compound bustles with activity, training exercises, clandestine meetings, the endless preparations for war. You see the faces of your followers, their eyes filled with unwavering loyalty, their bodies honed to deadly perfection. They are your creations, your weapons, your instruments of power, and you feel nothing. That's been the norm for years, decades perhaps. The heart you consumed, the ritual you endured, it severed something vital within you. It cauterized empathy, compassion, any vestige of humanity that might interfere with your purpose. You are a machine, a cold, calculating intelligence focused solely on the advancement of the clan. But tonight is different. Tonight, something cracks. Maybe it's the scent of the rain, reminding you of a childhood you barely remember. Maybe it's the sight of a young recruit, his face alight with the same naive enthusiasm you once possessed. Maybe it's just the accumulated weight of centuries of darkness finally reaching a breaking point. Whatever the cause, the numbness begins to dissipate. A faint ache stirs in your chest, a ghost of a feeling you haven't experienced in decades. It's regret. You scoff at the notion. Regret is a weakness, an indulgence you cannot afford. You push it aside, trying to regain your composure. But the feeling persists, nagging at the edges of your consciousness. You turn away from the window, seeking refuge in the familiar routine of your duties. You immerse yourself in strategy sessions, poring over maps, analyzing intelligence reports, planning your next move. But even as you issue orders, even as you manipulate events to your advantage, the regret lingers. It's like a sliver of glass lodged beneath your skin, a constant source of irritation that you can't ignore. It reminds you of everything you've lost, everything you've sacrificed, everything you've become. You try to drown out the feeling with distractions. Sake, opium, the company of courtesans. But nothing works. The regret remains, growing stronger with each passing day. One evening, as you sit alone in your chambers, a young ninja approaches you. He's a messenger, bearing urgent news from a distant province. He bows deeply before you, his eyes lowered in respect. As he speaks, you notice something about him. He's different. He carries himself with a quiet dignity, a sense of inner peace that you haven't seen in anyone for a very long time. He reminds you of the girl, the seer you were sent to assassinate so many years ago. The girl you ultimately chose to protect. A wave of guilt washes over you, a torrent of remorse for the path you ultimately chose. You remember the hope she represented, the promise of a better world, and you remember how you abandoned that hope, how you embraced the darkness instead. The messenger finishes his report, his voice respectful but firm. He awaits your instructions, his eyes fixed on the floor. You stare at him, your mind racing. You see in him a potential, a spark of goodness that could be nurtured, that could change the world. And you realize that you have a choice. You can continue down the path of darkness, perpetuating the cycle of violence and despair. Or you can choose a different path, a path of redemption, a path of hope. It's a dangerous choice. It could cost you everything, your power, your position, your very life. But for the first time in decades, you feel a flicker of purpose. You dismiss the messenger, telling him that you will consider his report. He bows and leaves the room, leaving you alone with your thoughts. You spend the rest of the night wrestling with your conscience. You weigh the consequences of your actions, the potential rewards, the inevitable risks. You know that if you choose the path of redemption, you will have to betray the clan, to turn against everything you've ever known. You will have to face the wrath of your followers, the fury of the ancient evil that controls them. But you also know that if you continue down the path of darkness, you will ultimately destroy yourself, and you will doom the world to an eternity of suffering. As dawn approaches, you make your decision. You summon your most trusted advisors, lieutenants who have served you faithfully for decades. You tell them that you have a new mission for them, a mission of utmost importance. You tell them that you have discovered a plot to overthrow the clan, a conspiracy led by a rogue faction seeking to seize power for themselves. You tell them that this faction must be eliminated, its leaders brought to justice. Your advisors are shocked by the news. They pledge their unwavering loyalty to you, vowing to crush the rebellion with ruthless efficiency. You smile, a cold, calculating smile that hides your true intentions. You tell them that you trust them implicitly, that you know they will not fail you. You then give them their orders. You instruct them to gather the clan's most loyal warriors and prepare for a swift and decisive strike against the rogue faction. You tell them to leave no survivors, to show no mercy. Your advisors nod, their eyes gleaming with anticipation. They're eager to prove their loyalty to you, to demonstrate their commitment to the clan. As they leave the room, you feel a pang of guilt. You know that you are sending them to their deaths, but you also know that it's necessary. They are too deeply entrenched in the darkness, too far gone to be saved. They must be eliminated to make way for a new beginning. Once your advisors are gone, you summon the young messenger, the ninja who reminded you of the girl. You tell him that you have a secret mission for him, a mission that only he can fulfill. You tell him that you have discovered the truth about the clan, about its dark origins, about its twisted purpose. You tell him that the clan must be stopped, that its power must be broken. The messenger is stunned by your words. He struggles to comprehend the enormity of what you are telling him. You tell him that you have a plan, a way to destroy the clan from within, but you need his help. You need him to carry out a series of secret missions, to infiltrate enemy territory, to gather intelligence, to sabotage their operations. You warn him that it's a dangerous mission, one that could cost him his life. But you also tell him that it's the only way to save the world. The messenger hesitates for a moment, his face etched with doubt. But then he looks at you, his eyes filled with a newfound determination. He agrees to help you. You spend the next few months working with the messenger, carefully executing your plan. You use your authority as the clan leader to manipulate events, to sow discord among your followers, to weaken their defenses. You secretly funnel resources to the rogue faction, providing them with the weapons and information they need to challenge your authority. You create opportunities for them to strike at the clan's most vulnerable points, to disrupt their operations, to undermine their morale. You also work to expose the clan's secrets to the outside world, leaking information to rival lords, to foreign powers, to anyone who might be willing to challenge their dominance. Your actions do not go unnoticed. Your followers begin to suspect that something is amiss. They sense that you are not who you seem to be. They begin to question your orders, to challenge your authority. They start to plot against you, to plan your overthrow. You are aware of their suspicions, their machinations. You know that it's only a matter of time before they turn on you, but you are prepared. You have anticipated their moves. You have laid your own traps, waiting for them to spring. The climax comes one dark and stormy night. Your advisors, emboldened by their growing support, launch their attack. They storm your fortress, leading a horde of loyal warriors. You are waiting for them. As they burst into your chambers, you unleash your secret weapon, the Rogue Faction. They emerge from the shadows, ambushing your advisors, cutting them down with ruthless efficiency. A fierce battle erupts, a chaotic melee of steel and blood. The fortress is transformed into a slaughterhouse, the air thick with the stench of death. You watch the battle unfold from a safe distance, your face impassive. You have played your part. Now it's up to the others to finish the job. The Rogue Faction, fueled by their desire for power and their hatred of the clan, fights with a ferocity that surprises even you. They are outnumbered, but they are determined to win. Slowly, gradually, they gain the upper hand. They push back your advisors, driving them into a corner. Finally, the battle is over. Your advisors lie dead, their bodies strewn across the floor. The Rogue Faction has emerged victorious. You step forward, revealing yourself to the victors. They are surprised to see you, unsure of your intentions. You tell them that you have been waiting for this moment, that you have been working to undermine the clan from within. You tell them that you are ready to hand over the reins of power to them. The leader of the Rogue Faction, a ruthless and ambitious warrior, is skeptical. He doesn't trust you. He suspects that you are playing some kind of game. You assure him that you are sincere. You tell him that you have no desire for power, that all you want is to see the clan destroyed. To prove your sincerity, you offer him a gift, the heart of the clan's founder, the source of its power. You tell him that if he consumes the heart, he will become the new leader of the clan, and he will be able to shape its destiny. The leader of the Rogue Faction is tempted by the offer. He craves power, and he knows that the heart is the key to unlocking it. But he is also wary. He knows that the heart is dangerous, that it can corrupt the soul. He hesitates, unsure of what to do. You press him. You tell him that he has no choice, that if he doesn't consume the heart, the clan will eventually fall, and darkness will consume the world. Finally, he relents. He takes the heart from you, his eyes filled with a mixture of greed and fear. He brings it to his lips and takes a bite. As he swallows the heart, he feels a surge of dark energy coursing through his veins. He feels himself changing, becoming something else. He looks at you, his eyes glowing with an eerie green light. He is no longer the same person he was before. You smile. Your plan has worked. You have successfully transferred the power of the clan to a new leader, one who is even more ruthless and ambitious than you ever were. You have ensured that the cycle of darkness will continue, that the world will remain trapped in an eternity of suffering. But you have also achieved something else. You have freed yourself by sacrificing everything, by embracing the darkness, by betraying everyone you ever knew. You have finally broken free from the clan's control. You have severed the ties that bound you to the ancient evil. You are no longer a puppet, a pawn in a game you never understood. You are a free agent, a master of your own destiny. You turn and walk away, leaving the new leader to his fate. You disappear into the shadows, never to be seen again. You spend the rest of your life wandering the world, seeking redemption, seeking peace. You try to atone for your sins, to make amends for the damage you have caused. You help those in need. You fight against injustice. You spread hope wherever you go. You become a beacon of light in a world of darkness. But you never forget your past. You never forget the horrors you witnessed, the atrocities you committed. You carry the weight of your sins with you, a constant reminder of the monster you once were. You die a peaceful death, surrounded by those who love you. But even as you close your eyes for the final time, you know that you will never truly be free. The darkness will always be a part of you, a stain on your soul. You are a paradox, a contradiction. You are both a monster and a savior, a destroyer and a creator. You are a testament to the enduring power of hope and to the devastating consequences of darkness. And that, my friend, is the most complex, the most tragic, and perhaps the most realistic ending of all. Not a clean break, not a triumphant victory, but a messy, ambiguous, and ultimately human story of survival, regret, and the enduring struggle between light and darkness. A ninja's tale, but perhaps a little bit like your own. Because truth be told, even that tale is a bit grandiose, isn't it? The lone wolf redeeming himself, A whisper of hope against the endless night, that's the stuff of legends, not the mundane, grinding reality of being a cog in a centuries-old killing machine. Let's dial it back. Let's get granular. Let's talk about the quiet, soul-crushing despair that creeps in, not with a bang, but with a whimper. Imagine you're back in that tower, decades into your leadership. You haven't had some grand epiphany, no sudden burst of morality. You're still the cold, calculating leader, making the hard choices, sacrificing pawns for the greater good as you perceive it. But the emptiness, it's become a constant companion. It's not a dramatic, world-ending void. It's more like a low-grade fever, always present, subtly sapping your strength. You still oversee assassinations, orchestrate betrayals, and manipulate political landscapes. The clan thrives under your leadership. Your enemies tremble at your name, but the victories ring hollow. The power feels meaningless. You try to fill the void. You surround yourself with luxury, indulge in fleeting pleasures. You amass wealth, control, influence, but nothing satisfies. The emptiness persists, a constant reminder of what you've lost, of what you've become. Sleep becomes a battleground. Nightmares plague you. Faces of your victims, the faces of your fallen comrades, the distorted, mocking face of your sensei. You wake up in a cold sweat, your heart pounding, the darkness pressing in on you. You start to avoid looking in mirrors. You can't bear to see the reflection of the monster you've become. The lines on your face are deeper, the eyes colder, the mouth a thin, cruel line. You try to find solace in routine. You immerse yourself in the minutiae of clan business, poring over documents, attending endless meetings, micromanaging every aspect of the operation. But even that offers only temporary respite. The emptiness always returns, like a persistent echo in a silent room. You notice that you're becoming increasingly isolated. Your followers fear you, respect you, obey you, but they don't like you. They see you as a distant, unapproachable figure, a force of nature to be reckoned with. You try to connect with them, to show them a glimpse of your humanity, but it's no use. The years of darkness have built a wall around you, a barrier that no one can penetrate. You start to drink more, to rely on opium for escape. The substances offer temporary relief, a brief respite from the crushing weight of your existence. But they also amplify the darkness, making the nightmares more vivid, the regret more intense. One day, you stumble upon an old scroll in the clan's archives. It's a record of your early training, a detailed account of your progress, your strengths, your weaknesses. As you read the scroll, you're struck by how different you were then. You were idealistic, ambitious, eager to prove yourself. You believed in the clan's mission, in the importance of fighting for what was right. You realized that somewhere along the way, you lost that spark. You allowed the darkness to consume you, to extinguish the light within. A wave of self-loathing washes over you. You hate yourself for what you've become, for the choices you've made, for the path you followed. You decide to make a change. You resolve to reclaim your lost humanity, to find some meaning in your empty existence. You start by reaching out to your followers. You try to be more compassionate, more understanding, more approachable. You listen to their concerns, offer them encouragement, show them that you care. Some of them respond, cautiously at first. They see a glimmer of something different in you, a hint of warmth beneath the cold exterior. But others remain skeptical. They've seen too much, they've been hurt too many times. They can't bring themselves to trust you. You don't give up. You keep trying day after day, month after month. You chip away at the wall that separates you from your followers, brick by brick. Slowly, gradually, you start to see progress. Your followers begin to open up to you, to share their hopes, their fears, their dreams. You start to build genuine relationships based on trust and mutual respect. You also start to question the clan's mission, its methods, its very purpose. You realize that the clan's pursuit of power has come at a terrible cost, that it has caused untold suffering and destruction. You decide to change the clan's direction, to steer it towards a more peaceful, more constructive path. You start by scaling back the assassinations, the betrayals, the manipulations. You focus on building alliances, fostering diplomacy, and promoting stability. Your actions are met with resistance from within the clan. Many of your followers believe that you're betraying their traditions, that you're weakening their power. They plot against you, conspiring to overthrow you and restore the clan to its former glory. You are aware of their plans, but you choose to ignore them. You believe that you can win them over, that you can convince them to embrace your vision of a better future. You're wrong. One night, as you're sleeping in your chambers, you're attacked. A group of your former followers, led by your most trusted lieutenant, burst into your room, their swords drawn. You're caught off guard, unprepared for the assault. You try to defend yourself, but you're outnumbered, outmatched. You're quickly overwhelmed. Your former followers beat you mercilessly, their faces contorted with rage. They leave you for dead, lying in a pool of your own blood. You're not dead, but you're close. You're bleeding profusely, your bones are broken, your body is racked with pain. You lie there for hours, slowly slipping away. You think about your life, about your choices, about your regrets. You realize that you failed. You tried to change the clan, to redeem yourself, but you were ultimately unsuccessful. The darkness was too strong. It consumed you, and it destroyed you. As you take your final breath, you feel a sense of acceptance. You're not happy, but you're not afraid. You've done your best, and that's all that matters. You close your eyes, and you drift off into the darkness. Your death is not mourned. Your former followers celebrate your demise, hailing it as a victory for the clan. They restore the clan to its former glory, continuing down the path of violence and destruction. Your efforts to change the clan are forgotten, your memory erased from the records. You become just another footnote in the long and bloody history of the ninja. And that, my friend, is perhaps the most realistic ending of all. Not a grand redemption, not a tragic downfall, but a quiet, unremarkable failure. You try to make a difference, but you're ultimately powerless to change the course of history. The darkness wins. You die alone, unmourned, unremembered. Your life was meaningless, your death insignificant. Sweet dreams. Because, let's face it, the likelihood of you, a single individual, breaking free from a system that's been honed over centuries, a system designed to crush individuality and enforce unwavering obedience, it's slim. The system is bigger than you. The darkness is deeper than you can imagine. So maybe, just maybe, the most realistic scenario isn't about changing the clan or finding redemption or even dying a noble death. Maybe it's about something far more mundane, far more insidious. Maybe it's about simply existing. Imagine this. You continue to lead the clan. You don't have some grand epiphany. You don't suddenly decide to become a force for good. You remain the cold, calculating leader, making the hard choices, sacrificing pawns for the greater good as you perceive it. But the emptiness, it never goes away. It's always there, a constant companion, a subtle drain on your soul. You continue to oversee assassinations, orchestrate betrayals, and manipulate political landscapes. The clan thrives under your leadership. Your enemies tremble at your name, but the victories still ring hollow. The power still feels meaningless. You're not happy, but you're not unhappy either. You're just numb. You go through the motions, day after day, year after year. You attend meetings, issue orders, make decisions. You perform your duties with cold efficiency, never allowing your emotions to cloud your judgment. You're a machine, a well-oiled killing machine. You're not alive, but you're not dead either. You're just existing. You watch your followers come and go, their lives flaring brightly and then fading into darkness. Some die in battle, others are betrayed, still others simply vanish. You don't feel anything when they're gone. They were just tools, and now they're broken. You see new recruits arrive, eager to prove themselves. You train them, mold them, turn them into weapons. You watch as their innocence fades, as the darkness takes root in their souls. You don't feel any remorse. It's just the way things are. You grow old, your body weakening, your senses dimming, but your mind remains sharp, your will unwavering. You continue to lead the clan, even as your strength fades. You know that your time is coming. You can feel the darkness closing in, the end drawing near. You don't fear death, but you don't welcome it either. You're just indifferent. You make preparations for your successor, choosing a worthy candidate, grooming them for leadership. You pass on your knowledge, your skills, your secrets. You ensure that the clan will continue to thrive, even after you're gone. Finally, the day arrives. You lie in your bed, surrounded by your loyal followers. You're weak, frail, barely able to speak. You look at their faces, their eyes filled with respect and admiration. You don't feel any connection to them. They're just there. You take a final breath, your body shutting down. Your eyes glaze over. You're dead. Your death is mourned by your followers. They erect a monument in your honor, celebrating your life and your accomplishments. They continue to follow the path you set for them, perpetuating the cycle of violence and destruction. Your legacy lives on, a testament to your power, your cunning, your ruthlessness. But you're not there to see it. You're gone, vanished into the darkness. You were just a ninja. You lived a life of violence and death, and you died a death of peace and quiet. And that's all there is to it. No redemption, no regret, no grand finale. Just a life lived in the shadows. A death that fades into obscurity. The quiet, unremarkable horror of simply existing. Sleep well. You might just find that's the best fate you can hope for. Because even that quiet, meaningless existence presumes a certain level of competence, a certain level of skill, of ruthlessness, of sheer, unadulterated luck. What if you weren't that good? What if, despite all the training, all the indoctrination, you were simply mediocre? Imagine you're back in training, years after your initial induction. You're not excelling, not failing spectacularly, just there. You're competent enough to complete the tasks assigned to you, but you lack the spark, the edge, the killer instinct that sets the true prodigies apart. Your sensei is disappointed. He doesn't berate you, doesn't punish you cruelly, he simply ignores you. You're not worth his time, his energy. You're a lost cause, a waste of resources. You see your comrades progressing, mastering new techniques, earning praise and recognition. You're left behind, languishing in the shadows. Your skills stagnant, your potential unrealized. You're assigned to menial tasks, cleaning the training grounds, maintaining the weapons, running errands for the higher-ranking ninjas. You're treated like a servant, a glorified errand boy. You try to improve, to push yourself harder, to catch up with your peers, but it's no use. You lack the natural talent, the inherent drive. You're simply not cut out for this life. You start to make mistakes, you misjudge distances, fumble your weapons, fail to follow instructions. Your sensei sighs, his disappointment palpable. You're relegated to increasingly dangerous missions, scouting ahead, acting as bait, guarding the rear. You're expendable, a sacrificial lamb to be offered up to the enemy. You know that your days are numbered. You're not good enough to survive, not skilled enough to escape. It's only a matter of time before you meet your end. You live in constant fear, dreading each new assignment, each new day. You know that every mission could be your last. You see your comrades die, one by one. Some are killed in battle, others are betrayed, still others simply disappear. You know that you'll be next. One day, you're assigned to a particularly dangerous mission, infiltrating an enemy fortress and stealing a vital document. It's a suicide mission, and you know it. You try to protest, to beg for a different assignment, but it's no use. Your sensei is unmoved. You have your orders. You must obey. You set out on the mission, your heart filled with dread. You know that you're not coming back. You reach the enemy fortress, your hands trembling, your breath ragged. You try to infiltrate the fortress, but you're clumsy, awkward, easily spotted. You're quickly discovered. The enemy soldiers surround you, their swords drawn. You try to fight, but you're no match for them. You're unskilled, untrained, unprepared. You're quickly overwhelmed. The enemy soldiers beat you mercilessly, their faces contorted with hatred. They leave you for dead, lying in a pool of your own blood. You're not dead, but you're close. You're bleeding profusely, your bones are broken, your body is racked with pain. You lie there for hours, slowly slipping away. You think about your life, about your failures, about your regrets. You realize that you wasted your life. You sacrificed everything for a cause that was never meant for you. You were never a ninja. You were just a pretender, a failure, a disappointment. As you take your final breath, you feel a sense of relief. You're finally free. You close your eyes and you drift off into the darkness. Your death is not mourned. Your comrades barely notice that you're gone. You were just another expendable pawn, a statistic in a long and bloody war. Your name is forgotten, your memory erased. You were never anything. And that, my friend, is perhaps the most pathetic ending of all. Not a grand tragedy, not a noble sacrifice, but a quiet, ignominious death. You were never good enough, never strong enough, never ruthless enough. You were just a failure. You die alone, unmourned, unremembered. Your life was meaningless, your death insignificant. Sweet dreams. Because, let's really drill down. Let's get to the absolute, unvarnished truth. The kind that keeps you awake at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, wondering if you made all the wrong choices. Let's assume you're not just mediocre, but actively unlucky. Not unlucky in the dramatic Shakespearean sense. Cursed by the gods, destined for a tragic downfall. Just consistently, reliably, annoyingly unlucky. Imagine everything that could possibly go wrong does go wrong, and it all happens to you. Your shirt can always jam. Your disguise is always slightly off. You trip over tree roots in the middle of a stealth mission. The enemy guard you're supposed to incapacitate is having a particularly bad day and is twice as alert as usual. It's not that you're incompetent. You know the techniques, you understand the strategies, but fate, or whatever cruel deity governs the ninja world, has decided you're its personal punching bag. During training, you're constantly getting hit by stray arrows, tripping on the obstacle course, or falling into the mud. Your comrades snicker behind your back. Your sensei sighs, his patience wearing thin. You're assigned to the most undesirable tasks: cleaning the latrines, scrubbing the floors, peeling vegetables. You smell perpetually of, well, you can imagine. On missions, you're always the one who gets caught. The one who sets off the alarm, the one who ends up face down in a pile of manure. Your failures jeopardize the entire team, earning you the scorn and resentment of your fellow ninjas. You're constantly injured. Sprained ankles, broken fingers, cuts and bruises galore. The healers roll their eyes when they see you coming. You're their most frequent customer, and they're starting to suspect you're doing it on purpose. You try to be optimistic, to persevere despite your bad luck. But it's hard. The constant failures, the constant pain, the constant ridicule, it wears you down. You start to believe that you're cursed, that you're destined for a life of misery and failure. You lose hope, you lose motivation, you lose the will to keep fighting. Your sensei, finally reaching the end of his rope, decides to get rid of you. He can't kill you outright. That would be bad for morale. But he can assign you to a mission that's virtually guaranteed to get you killed. He sends you to infiltrate an enemy stronghold, a heavily fortified fortress guarded by elite soldiers. Your mission is to steal a vital document, a task that would be challenging even for the most skilled ninja. For you, it's a death sentence. You know that you have no chance of success. You're outmatched, outgunned, and hopelessly unlucky, but you have no choice. You must obey your orders. You set out on the mission, your heart filled with despair. You know that this is the end. As you approach the fortress, you're already encountering problems. A sudden storm rolls in, making it difficult to see. You lose your footing on the slippery rocks and tumble down a hill, injuring your ankle. You finally reach the fortress walls, your body aching, your spirit broken. You try to scale the walls, but your injured ankle makes it difficult to climb. You slip and fall, landing hard on the ground. You're discovered by the enemy soldiers. They surround you, their faces grim. You try to fight, but you're no match for them. You're injured, exhausted, and hopelessly unlucky. Your sword breaks. You trip over your own feet. A bird poops on your head. Seriously, the enemy soldiers laugh. They've never seen such a pathetic excuse for a ninja. They kill you quickly, efficiently, without a shred of remorse. You're just another nameless corpse, another casualty of war. Your body is left to rot outside the fortress walls, a feast for the crows. No one will mourn you, no one will remember you. You were just unlucky, and that, my friend, is perhaps the most depressing ending of all. Not a glorious tragedy, not a meaningful sacrifice, but a pointless, absurd death. You were just a victim of circumstance, a pawn in a game you never had a chance of winning. You die alone, unmourned, unremembered. Your life was a joke, your death a punchline. Sweet dreams. Because really, what else can you do but laugh? Or cry? Probably cry. Definitely cry. Because the thing about being a ninja, the thing that makes it truly terrifying, isn't just the danger, the violence, or the lack of freedom. It's the utter, soul-crushing randomness of it all. You can train your body to perfection, hone your mind to a razor's edge, master every technique in the book, and still die because a butterfly flapped its wings on the other side of Japan. So let's take that randomness, that utter lack of control, and dial it up to 11. Let's imagine that your unluckiness isn't just a series of unfortunate events. It's something more, something supernatural. Let's say you're cursed, not in the vague, metaphorical sense of the word, not just born under a bad sign or haunted by past mistakes, but truly, actively cursed. From the moment you were born, some malevolent entity has marked you as its plaything. Everything you do, everything you touch, everything you experience is tainted by this curse. Your training is a nightmare. Your weapons malfunction at critical moments. Your stealth is constantly compromised by inexplicable occurrences. Sudden gusts of wind, flocks of birds appearing out of nowhere, the ground inexplicably giving way beneath your feet. Your comrades avoid you, whispering about the jinx that follows you everywhere. They fear that your curse will spread to them, bringing them misfortune and death, Even your sensei is wary of you. He sees you as a liability, a walking disaster waiting to happen. He assigns you the most dangerous, most undesirable missions, hoping that you'll finally meet your end and rid the clan of your cursed presence. But you survive. Against all odds, you keep cheating death, defying the curse that plagues you. You're not skilled, not particularly brave, not even all that smart, but you're stubbornly, inexplicably alive. Your survival only makes things worse. The curse intensifies, becoming more malevolent, more inventive in its torment. You start to experience strange phenomena. Objects moving on their own, disembodied voices whispering in your ear, visions of grotesque creatures lurking in the shadows. You're convinced that you're going insane. You can't tell what's real and what's not. You're trapped in a waking nightmare, haunted by forces you can't understand, can't control. One night, as you're sleeping in your quarters, you're awakened by a chilling presence. You open your eyes and see a shadowy figure standing over you, its face obscured by darkness. The figure reaches out to you, its hand icy cold. You feel a surge of terror, a primal fear that grips your soul. The figure whispers your name, its voice a raspy, guttural growl. It tells you that it's been watching you, that it's been waiting for this moment. It tells you that it's the source of your curse, the entity that has been tormenting you your entire life. It tells you that it's finally come to claim you. You try to fight, but you're paralyzed with fear. You can't move, can't speak, can't even scream. The figure draws closer, its icy hand reaching for your throat. You know that this is the end. But then, something unexpected happens. A surge of energy erupts from within you, a force of pure, unadulterated will. You fight back against the curse, pushing it away with all your might. The shadowy figure recoils, hissing in pain. It stumbles backward, its form flickering and distorting. You realize that you're not powerless. You have the strength to resist the curse, to defy the entity that has been tormenting you. You focus your energy, channeling your will into a single blinding ray of light. You unleash the light upon the shadowy figure, banishing it from your presence. The figure screams, its voice filled with rage and frustration. It fades away, disappearing into the darkness. You're left exhausted, drained, but alive. You've survived. You've defied the curse, but you know that it's not over. The entity will be back. It will never give up until it's claimed your soul. You decide to leave the Ninja Clan. You can't stay there any longer, not with the curse following you everywhere. You set out on a journey, seeking a way to break the curse, to rid yourself of the entity that haunts you. You travel to remote temples, consult with ancient sages, and perform arcane rituals. You search for a way to find peace, to find freedom, to find salvation. Your journey is long and arduous, filled with danger and despair. But you never give up. You cling to the hope that one day, you'll finally be free. Whether you find that freedom, whether you break the curse, whether you finally find peace, well, that's another story. A story for another night. But for now, let's just say that even in the darkest of nights, even when all hope seems lost, there's always a chance, however slim, however improbable, that you can find a way to survive. Even when you're cursed. Sweet dreams. And maybe, just maybe, don't look under the bed tonight. Just in case. Because even the curse, even the malevolent entity, even the constant threat of supernatural doom, it's still a bit romantic, isn't it? It implies you're important, that you matter enough for a powerful being to take notice. What if the truth is far more mundane, far more pathetic? What if your bad luck isn't supernatural, but simply medical? Imagine this. You have a congenital condition, something subtle, something easily missed in the brutal, unsanitary world of ancient Japan. Maybe it's a slight neurological disorder that affects your coordination and reflexes. Maybe it's a subtle inner ear imbalance that throws off your equilibrium. Maybe it's just really, really bad eyesight that nobody noticed because everyone is too busy trying to survive. Whatever it is, it makes you clumsy. Not comically clumsy, not slapstick clumsy, but subtly, consistently, dangerously clumsy. You struggle with the training exercises. You can't quite master the sword techniques. Your movements are always a fraction of a second too slow. You misjudge distances, stumble over obstacles, and constantly injure yourself. Your sensei is frustrated. He sees your potential, he knows you're trying your best, but you just can't seem to get it right. He tries to be patient, but his patience wears thin. Your comrades are sympathetic, but they can't help but see you as a liability. They know that you're more likely to get them killed than to help them succeed. You're assigned to the most menial tasks: cleaning the training grounds, tending to the horses, preparing the meals. You're not trusted with anything important, anything that requires skill or precision. On missions, you're relegated to the sidelines. You're the lookout, the messenger, the distraction. You're never allowed to participate in the actual fighting. You're constantly reminded of your limitations. You see your comrades excelling, mastering new techniques, earning praise and recognition. You're left behind, languishing in the shadows, your potential forever unrealized. You try to compensate for your clumsiness. You train harder, practice longer, and study more diligently. But it's no use. Your condition holds you back, preventing you from reaching your full potential. You start to develop coping mechanisms. You become overly cautious, overly meticulous, overly reliant on routine. You avoid taking risks, you stick to what you know, and you try to anticipate every possible problem. But even your best efforts can't overcome your condition. You're constantly making mistakes, constantly failing to live up to expectations. One day, you're assigned to a mission that's far beyond your capabilities. You're tasked with infiltrating an enemy fortress and stealing a vital document. It's a suicide mission, and you know it. You try to protest, to explain your limitations, but your sensei is unmoved. He needs someone to take the risk, and you're the most expendable member of the team. You set out on the mission, your heart filled with dread. You know that you're not coming back. As you approach the fortress, your condition starts to act up. You lose your balance on the uneven terrain, stumble and fall, and injure your ankle. You're forced to slow down, to limp your way toward the fortress walls. You know that you're running out of time. You reach the walls, but you're too weak, too injured to climb them. You try to find another way in, but you're clumsy and conspicuous. You're quickly discovered by the enemy guards. They surround you, their faces grim. You try to fight, but you're no match for them. You're injured, exhausted, and handicapped by your condition. You stumble, you fall, you drop your weapon. You're completely helpless. The enemy guards kill you quickly, efficiently, without a second thought. You're just another nameless corpse, another casualty of war. Your body is left to rot outside the fortress walls, a testament to your incompetence. No one will mourn you, no one will remember you. You are just flawed. And that, my friend, is perhaps the most tragically mundane ending of all. Not a grand struggle against overwhelming odds, not a heroic sacrifice for the greater good, but a quiet, ignominious death caused by a simple, treatable condition. You die alone, unmourned, unremembered, a victim of biology and circumstance. Your life was a struggle, your death a footnote. Sweet dreams, because sometimes the monsters aren't supernatural, and the curses aren't magic. Sometimes the real horrors are the ones we're born with, and those are the hardest to escape. But what if the problem isn't your body, but your mind? What if you're not clumsy, not unlucky, not cursed, but simply not very bright? Imagine you're back in training. You struggle to grasp the complex strategies, the subtle nuances of combat, the intricate details of espionage. You memorize the katas, but you don't understand the principles behind them. You can recite the clan's code, but you don't truly internalize its meaning. Your sensei is patient, but increasingly frustrated. He repeats the lessons, simplifies the explanations, and offers extra help. But it's no use. You just can't seem to grasp the concepts. Your comrades try to help you, but they're often condescending, patronizing. They treat you like a child, explaining things in slow, deliberate tones. You feel ashamed, embarrassed, and increasingly isolated. You're assigned to the most basic tasks: sharpening the swords, cleaning the dojo, weeding the garden. You're not trusted with anything that requires critical thinking or problem-solving skills. On missions, you're given simple, repetitive instructions. You're told to stand guard, to deliver messages, to follow orders without question. You're not allowed to think for yourself, to deviate from the plan, to make independent decisions. You try to improve, to study harder, to ask more questions, but the more you learn, the more you realize how much you don't know. You're overwhelmed by the complexity of the ninja world, the vastness of the knowledge required to succeed. You start to doubt yourself, to question your abilities, to wonder if you're even cut out for this life. You feel like an imposter, a fraud, a burden to the clan. One day, you're assigned to a mission that requires you to think on your feet, to adapt to changing circumstances, to make quick decisions under pressure. It's a test, a chance for you to prove yourself. You fail miserably. You misinterpret the instructions, you make the wrong choices, and you jeopardize the entire mission. Your comrades are furious, your sensei is disappointed, and you're filled with shame and regret. You're punished severely. You're forced to perform grueling exercises, to endure harsh conditions, and to face public humiliation. You're broken, defeated, and ready to give up. You realize that you're simply not smart enough to be a ninja. You decide to desert the clan. You can't take it anymore. The constant pressure, the constant failures, the constant ridicule. You pack your meager belongings and slip away in the night, hoping to find a new life, a new purpose, a new identity. But the ninja world is unforgiving. Desertion is punishable by death. You're hunted down by your former comrades. They track you through the forests, across the mountains, and through the villages. You try to escape, but you're no match for their skills, their training, their intelligence. You're easily captured. You're brought back to the clan compound, where you're put on trial for desertion. You're found guilty and sentenced to death. You're executed publicly, as a warning to others who might consider following in your footsteps. Your body is left to rot in the sun, a symbol of your failure, your stupidity, your betrayal. No one mourns you, no one remembers you. You were just a fool, a simpleton, a liability to the clan. And that, my friend, is perhaps the most humiliating ending of all. Not a heroic death in battle, not a tragic downfall caused by external forces, but a slow, agonizing decline caused by your own intellectual limitations. You die alone, unmourned, unremembered, a victim of your own stupidity. Your life was a waste, your death a joke. Sweet dreams, because sometimes the greatest enemy isn't a rival clan, or a powerful lord, or even a supernatural entity. Sometimes the greatest enemy is yourself. But even that, even the tragic tale of the not-so-bright ninja, still hinges on a certain agency. You choose to desert. You try to escape. You make decisions, even if they're bad ones. What if you're deprived of even that basic level of autonomy? What if you're not just stupid, but compliant? Imagine you're back in training. You're not particularly bright, not particularly skilled, not particularly anything, but you're unfailingly obedient. You follow orders without question. You never challenge authority, and you always do exactly what you're told. Your sensei appreciates your compliance. He doesn't expect much from you, but he knows that he can always rely on you to follow instructions. You're a useful tool, a reliable cog in the machine. You're assigned to simple, repetitive tasks, guarding the gates, cleaning the weapons, preparing the meals. You don't mind the monotony. You're content to do whatever you're told, without complaint or resistance. On missions, you're given clear, concise instructions. You're told to stand here, to watch there, to report anything suspicious. You follow the instructions perfectly, never deviating from the plan. You don't think for yourself. You don't question the orders. You don't offer suggestions. You're simply a drone, a mindless automaton, programmed to obey. Your comrades see you as a non-entity, a ghost, a shadow. They barely acknowledge your existence. You're just there. You don't have any friends, any ambitions, any desires. You're simply a vessel, waiting to be filled with instructions. You live your life in a state of perpetual obedience, never questioning, never resisting, never thinking for yourself. You're a perfect ninja, a perfect soldier, a perfect slave. One day, you're assigned to a mission that involves extreme cruelty and violence. You're told to torture prisoners, to assassinate innocent civilians, to commit acts of unspeakable depravity. You don't hesitate. You follow the orders without question, without remorse, without any trace of human emotion. You become a monster, a soulless killing machine devoid of empathy and compassion. You inflict pain and suffering on others without a second thought. You lose all sense of morality, all sense of right and wrong. You're simply a tool, an instrument of destruction in the hands of your masters. You live a long and uneventful life, serving the clan with unwavering loyalty and unquestioning obedience. You die peacefully in your sleep, surrounded by your fellow ninjas. You're remembered as a valuable asset, a reliable soldier, a perfect example of unwavering compliance. Your name is etched on the clan's honor roll, a testament to your unwavering obedience. But you're also forgotten. Your life was meaningless, your death insignificant. You were just a tool, and now you're broken. No one mourns you, no one remembers you. You are just a blank slate, a mindless automaton. A perfect slave. And that, my friend, is perhaps the most terrifying ending of all. Not a heroic sacrifice, not a tragic downfall, not even a miserable failure, but a complete and utter absence of self, a life lived without thought, without feeling, without purpose. You die without ever truly living, without ever knowing who you were, what you wanted, or what you believed in. You were just a puppet, dancing to the strings of your masters. Sweet dreams, because the scariest thing of all isn't the darkness outside, but the emptiness within. The potential for anyone, even you, to become a perfect, unthinking instrument of evil. And that, perhaps, is the true horror of being born a ninja. But even that, the perfectly compliant ninja, the unthinking tool, it presupposes a certain functionality, that you can reliably perform the tasks assigned, that you're not actively hindering the clan's efforts. What if your compliance is coupled with incompetence? What if you're not just willing to obey any order, but completely incapable of executing it effectively? Imagine you're back in training. You're eager to please, desperate to prove yourself, and utterly incapable of doing anything right. You follow instructions to the letter, but the results are always disastrous. You try your best, but your best is never good enough. Your sensei is exasperated. He can't fault your willingness, but he can't ignore your ineptitude. You're a walking, talking disaster, a constant source of frustration and embarrassment. You're assigned to the most trivial tasks, the ones that require the least skill and the least responsibility. Even then, you manage to screw things up. You spill the tea, you drop the scrolls, you trip over the tatami mats. On missions, you're kept far away from the action. You're told to stay hidden, to stay silent, and to stay out of the way. You're a liability, a walking target, a danger to yourself and everyone around you. You try to be helpful, to contribute to the team, but your efforts always backfire. You misinterpret the instructions, you misunderstand the signals, and you create more problems than you solve. Your comrades resent you, despise you, and actively avoid you. You're a joke, a laughingstock, a constant reminder of their own competence and your utter lack thereof. You live in a state of perpetual anxiety, constantly fearing that you'll make another mistake, that you'll disappoint your sensei, that you'll endanger your comrades. You're a nervous wreck, a trembling mess, a shadow of a ninja. One day, you're assigned to a mission that involves delivering a vital message to a distant ally. It's a simple task, a routine errand, but it's crucial to the clan's plans. You're determined to succeed, to prove that you're not completely useless. You memorize the message, you study the route, and you prepare for every possible contingency. But fate, as always, has other plans. You set out on your journey, your heart pounding, your hands sweating. You follow the route carefully, avoiding any potential dangers. But then, disaster strikes. You're ambushed by a group of enemy ninjas. They're skilled, ruthless, and determined to stop you from delivering the message. You try to fight, but you're no match for them. You're clumsy, inept, and terrified. You're quickly overwhelmed. Your sword is knocked from your hand, your body is battered and bruised, and your spirit is broken. The enemy ninjas capture you. They tie you up, gag you, and drag you back to their camp. They interrogate you, demanding to know the contents of the message. You try to resist, but you're weak, frightened, and easily broken. You spill the beans, you reveal everything you know, betraying the clan and jeopardizing their plans. The enemy ninjas are delighted. They have obtained the information they need to defeat the clan. They decide to get rid of you. You're no longer useful, and you're too much of a risk to keep alive. They kill you slowly, painfully, and without remorse. They torture you, mutilate you, and leave you to die a miserable death. Your body is left to rot in the wilderness, a warning to others who might consider defying them. No one will mourn you, no one will remember you. You are just a well-meaning idiot. And that, my friend, is perhaps the most pathetic and infuriating ending of all. You wanted to do good, you tried your best, but your incompetence doomed you and endangered everyone around you. You weren't evil, just tragically, hopelessly useless. You die alone, unmourned, unremembered, a testament to the fact that good intentions aren't enough. You have to be competent too. Sweet dreams. Because sometimes the road to hell is paved with good intentions and a whole lot of incompetence. But let's really twist the knife, shall we? Let's strip away even the comfort of good intentions. Let's imagine a scenario where you're not just incompetent and compliant, but actively unpleasant. A genuinely terrible person, trapped in the role of a ninja. Imagine you're back in training. You're lazy, selfish, and cruel. You bully the weaker recruits, you cheat on the exercises, and you constantly complain about everything. Your sensei despises you. He sees you as a stain on the clan, a walking embodiment of everything that's wrong with the world. He tries to discipline you, to break your spirit, but you're too stubborn, too defiant to be tamed. Your comrades hate you. You're arrogant, condescending, and utterly devoid of empathy. You make their lives miserable, you sabotage their efforts, and you constantly undermine their authority. You're assigned to the most undesirable tasks, the ones that no one else wants to do. You don't care. You do the bare minimum, you cut corners, and you make everyone else pick up the slack. On missions, you're unreliable, unpredictable, and downright dangerous. You ignore the instructions, you disobey the orders, and you put everyone's lives at risk. You're motivated by nothing but self-interest. You're greedy, ambitious, and willing to do anything to get ahead. You betray your comrades, you steal their credit, and you lie to your superiors. You're a parasite, a leech, a cancer on the clan. You contribute nothing, you take everything, and you leave a trail of destruction in your wake. One day, you're assigned to a mission that offers you a chance to seize power, to climb the ranks, to finally achieve your selfish ambitions. You're tasked with assassinating a rival clan leader, a powerful and respected figure who stands in your way. You see this as your opportunity. You plot, you scheme, and you manipulate the situation to your advantage. You betray your comrades, you set them up to fail, and you leave them to die. You care only about yourself, and you're willing to sacrifice anyone to achieve your goals. You succeed in assassinating the rival clan leader. You return to the clan compound, where you're hailed as a hero. You're promoted, rewarded, and given a position of power. You finally achieved your ambition. But your triumph is short-lived. Your former comrades, the ones you betrayed and left for dead, have returned. They're seeking revenge, and they're determined to make you pay for your crimes. They expose your treachery, they reveal your lies, and they turn the clan against you. You're stripped of your rank, your power, and your reputation. You're branded a traitor, an outcast, and an enemy of the clan. You're hunted down, captured, and brought to justice. You're put on trial for your crimes, and you're found guilty. You're sentenced to a slow and agonizing death. You're tortured, mutilated, and left to die in the wilderness. Your body is left to rot, a warning to others who might consider following in your footsteps. No one mourns you, no one remembers you. You were just a terrible person. And that, my friend, is perhaps the most deserved ending of all. You lived a life of selfishness, cruelty, and betrayal, and you died a death of pain, suffering, and ignominy. You got exactly what you deserved. Sweet dreams. Because sometimes the universe does offer a little bit of justice, and sometimes the bad guys really do get what's coming to them. But let's peel back another layer of the onion, shall we? Let's delve into the truly uncomfortable territory, the place where morality becomes a blurry, indistinct line. Let's imagine you're not consciously evil, not deliberately malicious, but simply a product of your environment. A monster created by the very system you're trapped within. Imagine you're back in training. You're not particularly good, not particularly bad, just average. But you're surrounded by violence, indoctrinated with dogma, and stripped of your humanity from a young age. You're taught to kill without remorse, to obey without question, and to sacrifice everything for the clan. You're told that your emotions are weaknesses, that your individuality is a threat, and that your only purpose is to serve. You're brainwashed, manipulated, and molded into a weapon. You're not given a choice. You're not given a chance to develop your own values, your own beliefs, your own sense of right and wrong. You're simply a product of your environment, a reflection of the darkness that surrounds you. You're assigned to missions that involve unspeakable acts of violence and cruelty. You're forced to witness torture, to commit assassinations, and to participate in acts of terrorism. You don't enjoy it, you don't revel in it, but you do it. You do it because you're told to do it, because you're trained to do it, because you know that the consequences of disobedience are far worse. You become desensitized to violence, numb to suffering, and indifferent to morality. You lose your sense of empathy, your sense of compassion, and your sense of humanity. You're simply following orders, doing your job, playing your part. You're not responsible for the consequences. You're not to blame for the atrocities. You're just a cog in the machine. You live your life in a state of moral ambiguity, never questioning, never judging, never taking responsibility for your actions. You're simply a tool, an instrument of destruction in the hands of your masters. One day, you're assigned to a mission that pushes you to the breaking point. You're told to kill a child, an innocent and defenseless victim. who poses no threat to the clan. You hesitate. For the first time in your life, you question the orders, you resist the indoctrination. You feel a flicker of humanity within your soul. But you can't disobey. You know what will happen if you refuse. You know that you'll be punished, tortured, and killed. You steel yourself, you suppress your emotions, and you carry out the order. You kill the child, and you shatter the last vestiges of your humanity. You're broken, destroyed, and utterly devoid of hope. You realize that you're not just a product of your environment, you're a prisoner of your own making. You're trapped in a cycle of violence and depravity, and you can't escape. You're doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past, to perpetuate the cycle of suffering, and to live a life without meaning or purpose. You continue to serve the clan, to carry out their orders, and to commit their atrocities. But you're no longer a ninja, you're just a shell, a hollow husk devoid of life and light. You die a meaningless death, forgotten and unmourned. You were just a victim of circumstance, a casualty of war, a product of a broken system. And that, my friend, is perhaps the most tragic and disturbing ending of all. You were never given a chance to be good, to be kind, to be human. You were simply a pawn, a puppet, a victim of a system that valued power over morality. Sweet dreams. Because sometimes, the real monsters are the ones we create ourselves. And sometimes, the greatest tragedy is not death, but the loss of our own humanity. But even that, even the grim acceptance of being a victim of circumstance, it still implies a certain level of awareness, a certain degree of introspection. What if you lack even that? What if you're so thoroughly indoctrinated, so completely brainwashed, that you genuinely believe in the clan's twisted ideology? Imagine you're back in training. You're not just obedient, you're zealous. You don't just follow orders, you embrace them with fanatical fervor. You believe in the clan's mission with every fiber of your being. You see yourself as a righteous warrior, fighting for a just cause, defending the innocent against the forces of evil. Your sensei is delighted. He sees you as a shining example of the clan's ideals, a true believer who will stop at nothing to achieve their goals. You're his star pupil, his most trusted lieutenant, his most loyal disciple. Your comrades admire you, respect you, and fear you. You're a force to be reckoned with, a whirlwind of violence and zealotry. You inspire them, you motivate them, and you lead them into battle with unwavering conviction. You're assigned to the most dangerous missions, the ones that require the most courage, the most skill, and the most unwavering commitment. You relish the challenge, you embrace the danger, and you throw yourself into the fray with reckless abandon. You commit unspeakable acts of violence with a clear conscience. You torture prisoners, you assassinate civilians, and you destroy entire villages. You do it all in the name of the clan, in the name of your beliefs, in the name of what you believe to be right. You're convinced that you're doing God's work, that you're cleansing the world of impurity, that you're paving the way for a better future. You see yourself as a savior, a liberator, a hero. You live your life in a state of blissful ignorance, blind to the suffering you inflict, deaf to the cries of the innocent, and immune to the pangs of conscience. You're a true believer, a fanatic, a zealot. One day, you're confronted with evidence that challenges your beliefs, that casts doubt on the clan's ideology, that reveals the true nature of your actions. You dismiss it as lies, as propaganda, as the work of the enemy. You refuse to acknowledge the possibility that you might be wrong. You cling to your beliefs with even greater fervor, doubling down on your commitment to the clan and intensifying your campaign of violence and destruction. You become a monster, a caricature of your former self, a parody of righteousness. You're so blinded by your ideology that you can no longer see the world as it truly is. You die a glorious death, fighting for your beliefs, defending your clan, and upholding your twisted sense of justice. You're hailed as a martyr, a saint, a legend. Your name is forever enshrined in the clan's history, a symbol of unwavering faith and unyielding devotion. You were a true believer, and you died for what you believed in. And that, my friend, is perhaps the most terrifying and disheartening ending of all. You lived a life of violence, cruelty, and destruction, and you died convinced that you were doing the right thing. You were a victim of your own indoctrination, a prisoner of your own beliefs, and a testament to the power of ideology to corrupt even the most well-intentioned souls. Sweet dreams, because sometimes the greatest danger isn't the darkness outside, but the darkness within. And sometimes the most terrifying thing of all is to believe that you're right when you're so very, very wrong. But even that, The zealous fanatic, blinded by ideology, still possesses a certain conviction, a driving purpose, however misguided. What if you lack even that? What if you're simply bored? Utterly, profoundly, existentially bored. Imagine you're back in training. You're competent enough, skilled enough, but utterly devoid of passion. You go through the motions, you perform the exercises, but your heart isn't in it. You see the ninja life as a job, a chore, a way to earn a living. Your sensei is disappointed. He sees your potential, but he can't ignite your spark. He can't motivate you to excel. You're a skilled craftsman, but you lack the artistry, the inspiration, the fire that separates the masters from the journeymen. Your comrades see you as aloof, detached, and indifferent. You don't participate in their camaraderie, you don't share their enthusiasm, and you don't seem to care about anything. You're assigned to missions that require skill and precision, but you perform them with a sense of detached professionalism, devoid of emotion or investment. You're a hired gun, a mercenary, a tool for accomplishing a task. You kill without remorse, but also without pleasure. You betray without guilt, but also without satisfaction. You simply do what you're told, collect your paycheck, and move on to the next assignment. You're not driven by ideology, by ambition, or by revenge. You're simply going through the motions, filling the void, killing time until you die. You live your life in a state of perpetual ennui, immune to passion, immune to excitement, and immune to any sense of meaning or purpose. You're a ghost, a shadow, an empty shell. One day, you're offered a chance to escape the ninja life, to leave the clan, and to pursue a different path. You consider it, but you ultimately decline. You realize that you're too apathetic, too uninspired to make a change. You're stuck in your rut, trapped in your routine, and unable to break free. You continue to serve the clan, to perform your duties, and to live your life without passion or purpose. You grow old, you grow weary, and you grow increasingly bored. You die a quiet, uneventful death, surrounded by your fellow ninjas. You're mourned, but not missed. You are a competent soldier, a reliable asset, but ultimately forgettable. Your name is etched on the clan's honor roll, a testament to your service and your skill. But no one remembers your face, no one remembers your voice, and no one remembers your story. You were just another ninja, another cog in the machine, another life wasted in the pursuit of power and violence. And that, my friend, is perhaps the most depressing and unsettling ending of all. You lived a life without passion, without purpose, and without meaning. You simply existed. And then you died. Sweet dreams. Because sometimes the greatest tragedy isn't a violent death, but a life lived without ever truly being alive. A life defined by boredom, apathy, and the slow, grinding realization that nothing really matters. And that, perhaps, is the ultimate curse of being born a ninja. The slow, creeping realization that you're utterly, irrevocably bored. But even that, even the crushing weight of existential boredom, it still implies a certain level of self-awareness. You know you're bored. You recognize the emptiness. What if you lack even that fundamental understanding? What if you're simply oblivious? Blissfully, utterly, completely oblivious. Imagine you're back in training. You're not particularly bright, not particularly skilled, not particularly anything, but you're incredibly cheerful, relentlessly optimistic, and utterly unaware of the horrors that surround you. You see the best in everyone, you find joy in everything, and you approach every task with unwavering enthusiasm. You're like a ray of sunshine in a world of darkness, a beacon of hope in a sea of despair. Your sensei is baffled. He can't understand your naivete, your innocence, or your inability to grasp the realities of the ninja world. He tries to toughen you up, to harden you, to break your spirit. But it's no use. You're impervious to cynicism, immune to despair, and incapable of seeing the bad in anything. Your comrades are amused, bewildered, and secretly envious of your unwavering optimism. They see you as a simpleton, a fool, a child trapped in an adult's body. But they also admire your resilience, your cheerfulness, and your ability to find joy in even the darkest of circumstances. You're assigned to missions that involve violence, cruelty, and deception. You approach them with a sense of childlike wonder, oblivious to the suffering you inflict, and convinced that you're doing good in the world. You torture prisoners with a smile, you assassinate civilians with a song in your heart, and you destroy entire villages with a sense of righteous purpose. You see yourself as a force for good, a bringer of peace, and a champion of justice. You're utterly delusional, completely detached from reality, and blissfully unaware of the true nature of your actions. You live your life in a state of perpetual innocence, untouched by the darkness, untainted by the evil, and unburdened by the weight of the world. One day, you're confronted with irrefutable evidence of the clan's cruelty, the clan's corruption, and the clan's utter depravity. You dismiss it as a misunderstanding, a mistake, or a necessary evil. You refuse to believe that the people you admire, the people you trust, and the people you serve could be capable of such horrors. You cling to your innocence, you embrace your delusion, and you continue to believe in the goodness of the clan, even in the face of overwhelming evidence to the contrary. You die a happy death, surrounded by your fellow ninjas, convinced that you've lived a life of purpose, a life of meaning, and a life of unwavering devotion to a just cause. You're remembered as a saint, a hero, and a symbol of unwavering faith and unyielding optimism. You were a true believer, and you died believing in the goodness of the world. And that, my friend, is perhaps the most unsettling and disturbing ending of all. You lived a life of violence, cruelty, and destruction, and you died completely unaware of the true nature of your actions. You were a victim of your own naivete, a prisoner of your own innocence, and a testament to the power of delusion to blind us to the truth. Sweet dreams. Because sometimes the greatest tragedy isn't the darkness that surrounds us, but our own inability to see it. And sometimes the most terrifying thing of all is to be happy, and we have every reason to be miserable. And that, perhaps, is the ultimate, most insidious horror of being born a ninja, the potential to live a life of utter darkness and to die with a smile on your face. But let's really dig deep. Let's unearth the bedrock of this nightmare. We've explored incompetence, malice, boredom, and delusion, but what if the core problem isn't a flaw within you, but the absolute, unyielding lack of anything at all? What if you're not even a person, but simply a placeholder? Imagine you're back in training. You are utterly unremarkable. Not clumsy, not skilled, not bright, not stupid, not kind, not cruel. You're just there. A blank slate. A void. Your sensei barely registers your existence. You're not a problem, but you're certainly not a prospect. You're just another body to be drilled. Another name on the roster. Another face in the crowd. Your comrades don't notice you. You don't inspire friendship, nor animosity. You're simply part of the background, like a tree or a rock. You perform your tasks adequately, but without enthusiasm or inspiration. You follow orders precisely, but without understanding or initiative. You're a perfect automaton, indistinguishable from any other. You have no thoughts, no feelings, no desires. You simply exist, moving through the world like a ghost, leaving no trace, making no impact. You're assigned to missions that require no skill, no judgment, and no personality. You're a guard, a messenger, a filler. You're there to occupy space, to follow directions, to remain unnoticed. You kill without emotion, you betray without remorse, you die without regret. You're simply a tool, used and discarded, leaving no ripple in the pond of existence. You live a long and uneventful life, indistinguishable from any other ninja of your rank and station. You contribute nothing, you achieve nothing, you become nothing. You die peacefully in your sleep, surrounded by your fellow ninjas. No one mourns you, no one remembers you. You are just another nameless face in a sea of anonymity. Your name is etched on the clan's honor roll, but it's quickly forgotten, replaced by the names of others who followed the same path of quiet, unremarkable service. You were just a placeholder, a blank space filled with the expectations of others, a void that never truly existed. And that, my friend, is perhaps the most terrifying and unsettling ending of all. You lived a life without purpose, without meaning, and without even the faintest trace of individuality. You were never truly alive, and you were never truly dead. You were simply nothing. Sweet dreams, if you can even dream, because sometimes the greatest horror is not the fear of death, but the fear of never having lived at all. The quiet, creeping dread that you are, and always have been, utterly and completely nothing. And that, perhaps, is the ultimate, inescapable nightmare of being born a ninja. The chilling realization that you might not even be real.